NGO?
It's a NGO. Yeah. Yes, sir. You can start.
Yeah. Good morning to all the listeners. I thank Vivekananda Prabodhini for giving me a very honorable opportunity for talking about um, transportation logistics, which is close to my heart, and also about Bharat, which I am very proud of being a citizen. Now, whether I don't know whether I can call myself as an expert or not, but still, I have some 50 years of experience in this field. Therefore, I will pass on whatever I have gathered during these 50 years. Um, I will go straight to my presentation now. When I was in shipping and transport, but it's come uh, later in 90s and 2000 onwards. But logistics was present in the ancient times in India, and it continues to be present and continues to, take different forms and modern form in India. A lot of transformation has taken place. Now I'm talking about, that's why I've included the word here, transport, in the title, logistics and transport now and then. See, there are three things which I am going to do. Two things I am going to do. One, I am going to divide the period. There are three periods. There are three periods. I am going to divide the period about which I am talking in three segments. First segment is prehistoric. I wouldn't call it prehistoric. That is, the period before Industrial Revolution. That is from the ancient times, time immemorial to Industrial Revolution. Thereafter, Industrial Revolution, which took place in, let's say, 1800s in UK and then other Western Europe, till our India's own independence till 1947. Then from 1947 till now, how logistics and transportation has transformed. This is what I have subdivided into three groups. And then logistics also has got generally, there are three subdivisions, essential components, which become when it gets integrated, it becomes total logistics. One is a transport. Transport is essential. People have to move, goods have to move. We are more in this segment. We are talking more about goods, not really people. Goods transport from one, freight transport or cargo transport from one place to another place. Then we are also talking about warehousing. Warehousing is also a very important aspect of logistics. And then process. Everywhere, if you have got goods and if you have to move goods, you should know which goods is lying where. This is what is called inventory accounting. I'm going to divide logistics into these three portions, and I'm going to talk about now, then, and now. Now, see, the concept of, I know whether all of you know concept of wheel, which is called chakra in Sanskrit. Chakra. See, without chakra, there is no logistics. See, only when there is wheel, carts started moving. Only when there is wheel, even today, if you see rail is on wheels, trucks are on wheels, carts are on wheels. Even airport is on, in airline or a plane is on turboprop. That is also a wheel which propels the plane forward. Then you also have sea. Sea has got the ships have got propellers, and propellers are also wheels. So wheel is the essential form of transportation. See, sometimes my Are you connected now?
Yes, sir, you are connected. I can
No.
see you and hear you.
I have to share, right? No.
Yeah, only screen sharing is remaining.
No. You said you want me to do something, right? Where do I go? I have to minimize.
Arrow mark, and then
I have to go to arrow mark. Yes.
Arrow mark, put it on, then press the share button.
Share button. I press the share button.
हाँ, ये entire screen, उसके बाद में वो share button दिखेगा नीचे. हाँ, आ गया है इसका. अभी सिर्फ आपको ये मिनिमाइज करके स्क्रीन आपका पीपीटी ओपन करना है.
मिनिमाइज किधर इधर करना है, राइट?
आपका ये स्क्रीन छोटा हो जाएगा.
हो गया ना?
करेक्ट.
हो गया. सो ओके.
अभी ये नीचे का हाइड भी कर दीजिए. नीचे एक प्लेट है ना, हॉरिजॉन्टल प्लेट में हाइड दिख रहा है ना, उसको भी निकाल दीजिए.
नहीं, एक तो मैं तो हो गया ना ये. अच्छा, ठीक, हाइड कर दिया.
हाँ, अभी यहाँ से कर सकते हैं आप.
Yeah. Okay. So I was talking about chakra when he broke off. Now again, I'm saying chakra has been there from our ancient time in mythology. If you go to Konark temple, the sun's Rath, sun temple, sun's Rath has got wheels. Konark wheel is very famous. And now in our mythology, and probably it is true, we believe in transportation. And transportation is because of chakra. And chakra is an invention known to Indians even before anybody else. Even though, I mean, I'm going to show you some inscriptions from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. But, you know, I think we knew of wheel even before any civilization as per our mythology. Now, even, see, I'm talking about in Mahabharata, we had Ratha was a main source of movement of the warriors. We have heard of Atirathis and Maharathis, and also Sarathi. Sarathi is Partha Sarathi. Krishna was the charioteer for Arjuna, and the chariot had wheels, and wheels made transportation evolve. Whether it is, as I said, whether it's rail, whether it is road, whether it is sea propeller, or whether it's air, which is called turbine wheels, all this make the wheel as very important aspect of the transportation, which we as Indians knew from time immemorial. Now here you say even our national bank flag has got chakra, Ashoka chakra, and occupies a pride of place. Okay, this is what I'm saying. This is what is from Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro, I mean Harappan images, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Indus civilization. These are various forms of chakras. And even in our body, we have chakras. I mean, as per our, our science, as per our Hindu science, we have chakras in our body. But this is the chakras as given in Harappan image, which is 1500 CE. But I'm saying that our chakra was known much, much earlier, and therefore transportation was evolved even in those periods. Before Industrial Revolution, the mode of transport was by animal power, mainly animal power. You had horse carts, bullock carts, then even in the hills where there are no paths, basically mules were transporting the load. Even today, if you see people climbing Everest, they are climbing other mountains or in the mountainous area. Mules are carrying the loads. So if you have donkey carrying loads, you have mules carrying load in the hillock. Therefore, animal power is still used in the modern times. See, bullock carts has got a very, I think, when you go to rural areas, especially in Western UP, where there is a lot of sugar mills, you will see in front of the sugar mills, bullock carts standing with loads of sugar cane. These bullock carts are from the village farmers, and they travel short distances, but they are very, very important. As per the research done by somebody very eminent person in 70s, first director of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, almost 6 million tons of goods are being transported by bullock carts every year in India. And what what he went on to do, he said the bullock cart cannot be eliminated because agriculture uses bulls, and we have bullocks and bulls, and we have a lot of animals, and we are using that power for transportation for other purposes, and therefore to make them comfortable and carry more and then last long, what he did was he changed the yoke from wood to tubular yoke, make it light and then still sturdy. The wheels, he changed it from the normal wooden with the steel tire to rubber pneumatic tire, so that the carts can move freely, fast, and with lesser burden on the animals. So this is bullock cart still really had an advanced system of cereal storage. Even though it looks crude, it is not really crude. They did have a storage need. The grains were really stored in bulk. When I used to visit my grandfather's house, I used to in a small city, in small town in Tamil Nadu, I used to found storages like this, where the food grain used to be stored, like rice or paddy or wheat used to be stored in what is known as silos. These are all country silos. But today, grain storage globally are in modern silos where the handling is also mechanical. Those days, handling was not mechanical. Handling is manual, but storage was in the bulk storage. Today, if you go to Food Corporation of India, the storage is mainly in bags. And those days, bags were not used. So I think the system was as advanced as it is now in terms of bulk storage. Now, having talked about warehousing in the ancient times, I'm going to talk about foreign trade. You see, while Indian trade, there was not much of a trade between the kingdoms. There was not much of a movement of materials between the kingdoms and things like this. But India had a lot of movement as compared to those days volumes between other countries. There are two ways it happened. One, by ocean. The peninsular India was connected with the countries as east as Rome, as west as Rome in one side, and as west as Cambodia, beyond Cambodia, in the other side. Southeast Asia, all the Southeast Asian nations which are there in existence in those days. Indonesia, Bali, this one, Cambodia, Vietnam, India had Thailand. All these nations were trading within India. They were buying a lot of materials which are being produced in India, found in India, like spices and the textiles and the gemstones and things like that. And they were also supplying what they could do. For example, Arabs used to supply horses. All this was being done connected by ocean, by ships. The ships were generally, sailing ships. Sails, I'll show you an example. Wooden bottom, wooden hull, sails on top. And they used to follow trade winds, southwest monsoon, the ships used to come from one direction, northeast monsoon, the ships used to come from northeast monsoon, ships used to come from northeastern side, it used to go for ships from India used to go to Europe, and southwest monsoon and ships from Europe to come to India. Like that, they used to follow the trade winds. And India was also one of the big shipbuilding nations of the world, Now here, here say maritime, as I say, I found out in one of the websites that maritime trade in India dates back to 2900 BCE. That is only what was recorded. What was not recorded, you don't know really. That's what is all India is about. We had a great tradition of maritime trade, Indus Valley civilization. Even before the development of the Silk Road, ships belonging to India traveled thousands of miles crossing Indian oceans. And merchants from other nations also visited in India. In fact, there is also there's a Tamil saint by name Manikya Vasagar who got money from his king to buy horses which were coming from Arabia. But on the way, he found Lord Shiva in the form of a guru sitting under a tree. And then he spent the money on building a temple for Lord Shiva. But Shiva, in fact, saved him from the wrath of the king. So that is a saying, ancient saying. It goes, these are all folklore, but also history. Now here is a ship built in India. See, this is the type of ships here. This ship has got a wooden this thing. What do you call? And then sails on top of this thing. Wooden hull and sails on top. And the sails can be turned in the direction of the wind, so the ship moves, and also can be controlled. The speed of the ship can be controlled by the direction of the sails. Such wonderful ships were built in. You see, even today, even till 1850s, 1860s, these were all clipper boats, were made in India and used by every country. I mean, it's said that one of the British queens ordered a ship for herself made in India. See, if you, I mean, about 10 years back, I went to a place called Mandvi as a tour. See, Mandvi has got a palace which comes many times on the Hindi films. But Mandvi also has got a huge shipbuilding industry. Even today, they build ships with wooden hull, but they have replaced sails with engines, modern diesel engines. These ships are not very big, 2,000, 3,000 tons, 3,000 tons capacity, and they are still trading. This is what they are called dhows. Dhows. They are trading with Arabia, between India and Arabia, carrying various goods, and they are supplying to other nations also, these ships. Now here you see the history. In the history, I found that this extract, which says that Alexander commissioned 1,800 ships from India to carry back his army back to Macedonia. Now here, see, before British, India had 25% share in world trade. Before British came to India, I mean, the world trade. See, the India's prosperity was linked to world trade. We had great navigational architectural skills, and we had great ports also, seaworthy ships and ports, so that we could trade around the globe throughout the year. The whole coastline is great, warm water there in all the ports. Medieval, see, I mean, I don't want to repeat the same thing, but it is said that we dominated the world with now. Now is from where the word Sanskrit. Now from there, Hindi also you have now, and that Navy must have come from now. So you can imagine the root of the word Navy is Indian. Now here, entire coast, from Balochistan, you have today. There's a port in Balochistan built by Chinese. It's called Gwadar. It used to be part of India, and Sindh also. Karachi was also part of India. From to Bengal, Calcutta, Dhaka, we had a great coastline and we had a lot of trade. Now, if I go back to the ancient history, we had ports. There are 7 ports mentioned. The first port was mentioned, which is called Lothar in Gujarat, which is Harappan time ports. And then there used to be navigation through Sabarmati river in Gujarat. Gujaratis are always traders and very well known. Even today, Gujaratis are known as great traders all around the world. You have Muziris. Muziri is very well known in South Indian history. It is near Kerala. That is also a very well-known port of the ancient times. A lot of spices used to go out of Muziris, and textiles used to go out of Muziris, and other things used to come into this India. Poompuhar is another Chola period port, which is the Kaveri, where Kaveri is meeting the sea. And you had Calicut in Kerala, Bharuch in Gujarat, Tuticorin and Arikamedu near Pondicherry. These are the 7 most known ports in those ancient times. Now, in addition to ports, see, North India used to trade through land with Europe and China, and that was called the Silk Route. Silk Route means silk from China used to come to many places, and then other items like used to go from India to China and other places like cotton and things like this, and they used to come through mountain passes. You have Nathula Pass, and then you have Khyber and Karakoram Pass. Khyber Pass is towards between Afghanistan and Pakistan. It used to be part of India, and then Karakoram Pass also through the Pak-occupied Kashmir. Now, these were the passes through which the Silk Road used to function, and then India used to be covered by land. Northern portion of India used to be covered by land. Peninsula portion of India used to be covered by sea, and some by sea and land also, some portion. Now here, we would have been, China has taken the initiative to connect to various nations through this original Silk Route and built railway lines and roads also. They in fact built a road through Karakoram Pass to a Baluch fort called Gwadar, tracing the ancient Indian Silk Route. But India could not participate in that Belt Road initiative of China, because they have built a road through our territory, which is the occupied Kashmir, that Karakoram Road. Industrial Revolution till Industrial Revolution, which is 18th, middle of early 18th century, late 18th century, and middle of 19th century, the transportation and warehousing used to take this sort of form in India, and we are quite advanced. Industrial Revolution took place in UK with steam power, Britain. Steam power was discovered there. At the time of Industrial Revolution, large part of India was under the rule of East India Company. But at that point of time, the British Crown took over the rule from East India Company. And once British Crown took over, a lot of East India companies came and then started working here. Thereafter, the whole structure of Indian business, Indian wealth, Indian education, everything took a turn. I mean, whether for worse or better, history is to judge. But I think, when we had 25% of the world's GDP and 25% of the global trade, now India was reduced to a colonial country governed by British, because everything they developed infrastructure. British did develop infrastructure like water transport, railways, ports, telegraphs, all that. But they developed only to cater to their own commercial interests. For example, if the Darjeeling Railway was constructed, it was constructed to bring tea from Darjeeling Hills to Siliguri. Similarly, Nilgiris railways. All this were done only to do their own, this thing. You will see that there was no manufacturing at all. You have railways, you had communication, you had all this, but there was absolutely no manufacturing, because they used to dump manufacturing goods on India, take the raw material, whatever manufacturing India had, they used to, with India had, they sort of killed it, whether it's our weaving, whether handloom, or other items or skills. They killed this and then took the raw material to their country and then brought the finished products back, not encouraging any manufacturing. If there's no manufacturing, there is also no, internal transport and things like this. But they constructed roads, but only to meet their own requirement. Now, of course, they built whatever they built. People had to travel long distances, but it also commercialized India's agriculture. But it adversely influenced self-sufficient of the village economies. Self-sufficient. Previously, village economies used to be self-sufficient. Now, that self-sufficiency economy, it went out of the window, because goods can move across the nation. They also, developed ports, and then they started shipping with steamships. But there was no, for example, there was no Indian company worth the name in shipping, Indian ownership. It was basically one company, which is national company, which is not anymore. Scindia Steam Navigation was the only company which was existence at the time of independence. All the other companies were all British or European or other countries. All the infrastructure services remained insufficient. Okay. Now they were the absolute, as I told you, there was manufacturing was absolutely neglected. Okay. Now roads were developed to mobilize British Army within India so that they can perpetuate the roads. Okay. Doors were developed to facilitate transportation of raw materials from different parts of the country to the nearest railway station or to the nearest port to send to the Britain for raw materials. Okay. Now here, as I said, they were all only for their own commercial interests, selfish interests. Okay. Now everything, everything is like that. All that, telegraph system was only to administer and control India, not for really for Indian. See, they were never encouraged value addition in India by putting up manufacturing outfits. They only perpetuated their own economy and trade. Now, there's a question which comes to my mind. See, I've been asking, this question. See, while India was really great, while India was really great in the ancient times, why is it did not catch up with the rest of the world during Industrial Revolution? I don't know. This is a question that cannot be answered in my mind. But would India be same if British had not come? According to me, no. Because, even if though there are many Rajas or many kingdoms are there, some of the Rajas are the ones were connected to other countries. For example, I know Mysore state, they brought the latest, turbine, hydro turbine from GE USA in 1890, and then established Shivasamudram Power Project. It was nothing to do with British, but it's Mysore state and the Diwan. They built a dam and then they established that thing. You remember Tata Steel cooperated with Kaiser Corporation in US, and then they became, steel was established in India. Like that, Indian entrepreneurs were shared. But Indian entrepreneurs were not encouraged because most of the kingdoms were taken over by British under whatever rules they were, and then the Rajas were made their puppets. So I'm saying Indian entrepreneurship would have been, if British had not come, still we would have caught up with the world in terms of industrial revolution. Maybe some more research, like the ancient time would have been done, and we would also discovered something, Therefore, there's a myth that, we would not have, British brought the technology to our India nation. See, from a shipping background, I have a shipping background. I have seen in the olden days, there are only two shipyards in India. The time of independence. One is Garden Reach Shipyard in Calcutta and Mazagan Docks in Mumbai. These were, British, established, but these were only for repairing British Navy and Merchant Navy ships. They were not building ships here. But post-independence, today we have huge shipyard, Cochin Shipyard and Vizag Shipyard. Vizag is even Hindustan Shipyard, Visakhapatnam, built a lot of merchant navy ships and navy ships. Even Mazagan Docks and Garden Shipyards are also building ships for navy and merchant navy. In fact, our technology has advanced so much that in Cochin Shipyard we are building an aircraft carrier. Aircraft carrier is called INS Vikrant. Now it's been already undergoing sea trials, and we also cryogenic LNG carrier. Cryogenic means the temperature is minus 160, minus 173 carrier. LNG is liquid natural gas. We in the cities like Mumbai and Delhi and other places, we are enjoying piped gases, and that comes out of mostly imported gas from Qatar and other places, and requires this sophisticated ship, LNG ships. Now, this Cochin Shipyard is manufacturing LNG ships, and Cochin Shipyard is also manufacturing submarines for our Navy. So this is the aircraft carrier which is already undergoing sea trial. It's going to be fitted out and then completely this is an aircraft carrier which is going through sea trials. Now railways, we have made considerable progress. I'm not getting into statistics. The statistics, you can find it out. You can Google and find out what is the length of railways then and what is the length of railways now. What was the tonnage carried in railways in 47? What is the tonnage carried? It's mountain and molehill. A lot of improvements are taking place over recent times. I must admire the infrastructure push of the current government. A lot of attention is given to infrastructure. It's also good that business are being left to businessmen, and then the basic infrastructure is being built by the government. Now, what are the great advances in railways? Freight transportation is increasing more than 1 billion ton now. More than 1 billion ton, probably 1.1 billion ton today. It's huge. The passenger, there's a train connecting any place to any place today. Any place to any place, and I don't want to talk about the passenger train, but the freight also, a huge movement of freight. In fact, the jumbo trains, 10,000 ton coal trains are getting operated. 10,000 tons wheat trains are getting operated. There are 2 factories, apart from the original factories of Chaitanya locomotive and locomotive works and diesel locomotive works of Varanasi. There are 2 big factories that come up for locomotive manufacture. 2 in Bihar, one for electric locomotive, one for diesel locomotive with high power. The electric locomotive is 12,000 horsepower, which is as big as any in the world, is coming up in Bihar. I can't recollect exactly the name. With Alstom collaboration, and such locomotives are already on the rail now. Very high capacity locomotives. Now, unigauge program is going on. Today, meter gauge is gone, mainly broad gauge everywhere, and double lines are going on. Electrification is going on. It's a high-speed coaches passenger coaches are also being built. Modernization is taking place, and that we are also going to have high-speed rail between 300 kilometers per hour between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. So high-speed rail link, on the way. See here, even in apart from the railway progress, you have got metros in so many cities, from Lucknow to Hyderabad to, forget about Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata or Chennai, but even Lucknow, Jaipur, you name a city, Hyderabad, Bangalore, all such cities are having metros now. Railway passengers connection end to end, so many connections now. And more than this, I remember that for making a reservation from myself, my native place, Salem, to where I used to work at, I had to go one day in advance or many days in advance to the booking office, fill out a form, stand in front of the queue, and then buy the ticket. Today, you can do it in your computer. Digitalization has taken. Freight also can be booked on digitalization, by online. All the digitization of bookings and tracking, all this taking place. Today, when you're traveling, you can track your train on your mobile. So such a great thing has happened in terms of digitization. And then even in terms of speed and signaling and accident, signaling is all digitized. Even locomotives are being operate on digital controls. And then there are high-speed dedicated railway corridors are coming up between, say, north to west in JNPT from Ludhiana, and then from Ludhiana to Dankuni in East Coast. These corridors will be completed in a year or 2, which will make both passenger movement faster and also freight movement scheduled and faster. The best development in last few years, especially with the current road minister, P PWD or I don't know, whatever you call him, the Mr. Gadkari, is the focus on road development. This is the best development since Independence Day. That started with that golden quadrilateral in Mr. Vajpayee's time. It's been followed up through the UPA time. Now, a lot of incentives emphasis are being given for road development times. Now here, there are huge investments, state highways, national highways, village connectors also, rural connectors and expressways also. A lot of expressways. Or, we are hoping that there will be an expressway between Delhi and Mumbai, whereby we could cover the whole distance about 12, 14 hours by car as fast as Rajdhani. The distance, from a road, from a logistics point of view, we used to have for many years, we could cover only, the trucks could cover only maximum of 250 to 300 kilometers a day. Today, we are hitting 400, 500, and some of the high-speed trucks, which are carrying the the parcel loads, they are even covering between Delhi and Bombay for 1,600 kilometers in one day. But normal heavy truck covers, they are doing 500, 600 kilometers as compared to 300 in the past. The huge achievement. This is being facilitated. There is no stoppage of truck. You got fast tag, that e-tolling. And then there is no control by sales tax and VAT official because you got GST and BTech, e-way bills. Okay, there is no vehicles don't have to stop multiple times and on the road. Ports, ports development is magnificent, especially in the private sector. So you see, you start from Mundra in Kutch, Gulf of Kutch. You go all the way up to Calcutta, even before Calcutta, there's called the Damra port in Orissa. Calcutta, Haldia, riverine ports. Damra port is a seaport. There are huge developments. A lot of private ports, like Mundra by itself, and Hajira, a lot of ports are there. Then you have, Krishnapatnam in East Coast, Gangavaram in East Coast, 3-4 ports near Chennai. Port capacity has really expanded beyond one's imagination. There is enough port capacity. And all the terminals, that you have all terminals, containers are loaded and unloaded from ships without cranes by shore gear. Shore gear means shore gantries. And then there are ore loading, coal unloading, all facilities are there and all over all the ports. The total cargo handled by ports become 1.3 billion tons, a huge amount. And there are also LNG terminals because LNG is becoming a big item of imports, replacing that fossil fuels like coal or even crude oil. Because it's clean, LNG is clean. You know that city of Delhi, you can have only CNG cars as public transport, CNG buses, CNG cars, and CNG autos for public transport, so that the pollution is reduced. This is enabled by LNG imports because we are not producing enough of gas on our own. So the imports has to come from terminals which are specialized, especially because of cryogenic temperature. And LNG, also LNG, crude, petrol, diesel, LPG, all are distributed all over India by pipeline, network of pipelines, unimaginable. It's a continuous process. It's going on in India all the time, and in coming period, gas connectivity will come to smaller towns and other areas. It's happening all the way. Planning is on the way. The inland connectivity of this between the ports and the cargo originating area and cargo terminating area is also excellent. Some of this also under privatized between a JV, between PPP, between railways and on the state and the private sector initiative. For example, Gujarat Pipavav port is connected to Surendranagar by a separate JV between railways and that port. Similarly, Mundra is also connected by a Adani, correct? Like that, the Paradeep is connected to the mines by private, JV lines, railway lines. Of course, you all know that there is privatization is taking place all through in the road sector. Then there is something called containerization. Containerization is, the cargo is generally moved by containers all over the world, both exports and imports. And the ports are equipped with container terminals. And imagine the number of container terminals. See, if you're an exporter and importer, you don't have to go to a port to export your cargo. You can export your cargo from where you are. For example, if you're in Delhi, there are so many ICDs nearby. Apart from Asia's biggest inland container depot in Tuklagabad, you've got a big inland container depot, Dadri. There is one in Faridabad. There is two in Gurgaon area. And there is one in Loni. And if you go 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, there are other Rewari, Bawal, so many inland container depots. And if you go to Ludhiana, 2-3, Punjab, there are so many inland container depots. Not only domestic export goods can move there, import can come, but domestic containerization also can take place. There's also container freight stations and warehouses. Everywhere you got bonded warehouses also. The importers can store the goods in the bonded warehouse before they pay duty. All that is there in this. It's coming up in a very big way. A lot of container transport itself has been privatized, licensed to private parties by the railways. Therefore, there's a lot of investment there. Domestic transport by road and rail is also getting containerized. Warehousing was not so important in the old ancient times because of self-sustained village economy. But it has become very important today for national distribution because, as I told you, the factories are not located in every place. Factories are located in one place and then distribution takes around around the entire country. Therefore, it goes through a series of warehouses, series of storages to feed the goods just in time when the demand takes place. But warehousing also become very modern. Now here, a lot of investments are coming in the state-of-the-art facilities in dry and agriculture product warehouses, and also special ones like cold storage, chemicals, and tankage. The process and technology is a very important aspect of logistics today. Now today, when you book a goods on Amazon, buy a goods on Amazon, from the time the goods is picked up till the time it reaches you, you keep on getting a tracking. Especially, suppose the goods come from, say, Chennai to your place. I get 5 prompts, in a parcel by Gati. I get 5 prompts. The goods has moved from Kanchipuram to Chennai to Noida, Noida to Okla to your house. I get this is because the goods are being tracked by GPS, by RFID, and also RFID radio frequency identification system or barcoding system. Then that's what I'm saying. It's linked to customer communication system. The regulatory process and customs clearance and GST returns have been by and large digitized, and the human interference by the officers have by and large been reduced. So it's all happens on the road. See, almost 60% of the customs clearance is automatic. There's no examination. There is no. It's automatic and self-clearance. Only 20-30% takes place by others. In terms of warehousing, automation takes place through warehouse management system, our barcode technology. If you see Amazon warehouses in India or some such warehouses, Amazon suppliers, it's a wonderful warehouse. The whole system goes through conveyor belt, sorting, automatic marshalling. All this is happening in the recent times, and it's being encouraged. And lot of today, startups are being encouraged in logistics area also. Lot of startups, which are, if you take this e-commerce is mainly supply chain, and the supply chain is basically logistics, and that e-commerce and supply chain is supported by technology, and great efficiency is seen in this sector. Now, and other apart from that, companies, were, freight booking by online, and aggregation of truck owners, aggregation of warehouse operators. All this are happening with a lot of investment in technology, and also, let's say, cold storage technology. Lot of encouragement is government is giving in this area in terms of subsidies and capital subsidies and operational subsidies. Now, having said all this, having said all this, I'm saying that we are in for wonderful times in the years ahead in terms of logistics, logistics and transportation. Now, India really had a good ancient history of logistics and transportation. Now, we are going to catch up and then beat the Western countries in terms of technology, in terms of efficiency in the years ahead. India is a big country. India is a big nation of people and huge consumption potential. We need logistics and transportation to be efficient, but things are going in a great way in spite of small hiccups here and there. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to present the perspective of now and then reasonably well. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Shri L.S. Ganapathi sir. It was wonderful listening to you. And on behalf of Vivekananda Kendra Kanyakumari and Vivekananda Prabodhini, I thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of this entire series. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please do send the link to me when you.
Yes, surely. I will keep updating you.
Thank you. Thank you.